There it is. Stage 13 is 197.5 kilometres, setting out from yesterday's finish on the flat in Saint-Étienne and actually descending gently before the first climb of the day, the third category Col de la Croix de Montvieux. Once they're over that, there's the best part of 120 kilometres for the riders to sit and contemplate what's waiting for them in the last third of the stage. The first category, Col de Palaquis, is 14 kilometres at a gradient of 6.1% and takes the race up over 1,100 metres. The intermediate sprint is highly unlikely to feature any sprinters. Then it's on to the first super category climb of this year's tour, 18.2 kilometres long and 1,700 metres high to Chamrousse.
Alessandro Di Marchi here takes yet another bottle from the car, checks over his shoulder. He may not see them just yet, but at 27 seconds and about 15 riders left, they're just riding each other off the back wheels one by one here. The favourites are still here, including, of course, the yellow jersey of Vincenzi. We've also got the top Frenchman here, and there is one in the white jersey, Romain Bardet, still here. We've also got TJ Van Garderen, Chris Horner, men who are riding tonight into a high position, Pierre Rolland and Richie Porte and Bauke Mollema. The big men are still here, and the top is still 14 kilometres away.
Nice to see Michael Rogers still in there now. This could be an advantage for Michael Rogers, Phil. He's a long way down in the overall standings. Just there around the corner there, you can see the front end of the main field. The end of the big adventure for Alessandro Di Marchi is about to go down.
But a lot of the people featuring in the King of the Mountains are now behind, believe it or not, including the leader, and there's 50 points over the top for the winner. That's not going to go to Di Marchi now, but has he any legs to hold on in there? These boys are just coming off the top of the mountain around the back of chamrousse at the moment. They go up by cable car. There's a composition of the bunch for you. Richie Porte, Raphael Machka, Michael Rogers. A surprise attack by him could go down well. Di Marchi still at the back of it. Bauke Mollema, Lawrence Tendam, his teammate. Jean-Christophe Perrault, Romain Bardet, Costa, Chris Horner. These are all the names. And one thing we can safely guarantee, one of them will win the Tour de France in Paris. There's nobody else missing from this group. Rui Costa recovered from his bronchitis, sat at the back, the world champion. 61 is Bauke Mollema. 141 is TJ Van Garderen. And that is the Tour de France right now. Just that little select group of riders.
Yeah, it's scary to think what tomorrow's stage is going to be like, because the tomorrow's stage is much more difficult than today, with some of the big legendary climbs of the Tour de France, including, of course, the great giant Izoard. So today is the decanting. We've seen
Richie Porte, Paul, has slipped to the back of the group, and I'm wondering what is going on. He's talking to his team management. He's come to the back of the group. Is he telling him he has a problem with his bike, or is he cracking?
Well, he doesn't look like a man panicking currently. He's just gone to the back of the group. He had time and sense to talk to his team management there. So that's a story to follow as we speak. He's slipping off the back.
Yes, Nieve, his last surviving teammate on this 10% section, is coming back to him.
Well, this is the man who started the day in second place in the overall standings. We're coming into the first Alpine stage, and Richie Porte at 2:23 is losing contact.
He's opening the door to allow Alejandro Valverde up onto the podium positions, followed by the two Frenchmen, Bardet and Pinot, and then Van Garderen and Perrault and Mollema, because they're all in this group. Well, that is not a good-looking face to me, and it is not a mechanical. Richie Porte is finding 12 kilometres still left on the day, 12 kilometres too far.
Now Thibaut Pinot has made the move. Now there's got to be a response, and the response comes immediately there from Alejandro Valverde and Vincenzo Nibali, because Pinot is in 5th place at the start of the day. He is not showing any respect at all to the reputations of these big men who've won Grand Tours in the past, and he's realizing this is a great day for him to move a little bit higher in the overall standings if he can. But it's a tough day for the Australian Richie Porte.
Well, this is the first big selection of this year's Tour de France, Paul. Richie, in his last 2 tours, has been a strong man on day 1 in the high mountains, and today he's just cracked at about 8 miles from the summit.
Well, it's really getting tough now because Stettiner has just disappeared from that group. So too has Kanga, the last teammate for the overall leader, Vincenzo Nibali. Richie Porte started. Well, that's a shocker too, because number 151, Pierre Rolland, was looking to move a little bit higher, but it's the French who are going on the attack. It's Thibaut Pinot, the young Frenchman in 5th place overall, who is putting pressure onto the shoulders of the man who finished 4th overall in the Giro d'Italia this year. It's great to see the renaissance of French cycling, these youngsters coming forward. A great story about that man, though, Pinot, Phil, because we saw him in the Tour de France 2 years ago. He finished 10th overall. Last year, he couldn't go downhill at all. He was scared. The team put him into a racing car to learn how to go around corners fast. And this year, he's a completely different athlete.
We just passed the world champion. Now we've just seen Chris Horner on ship as well, the Lamprey rider from America. And still, as they look around, well, just who is going to win this stage? It's just an elimination race, this, with still 11 kilometres to climb. Now, as we start here, this looks as though we might have a Leopold. It is Leopold Koenig who's gone clear, who's a very good climber, and he's taking his chance, but they're going after him. Pinot is the first to react here, and no trouble at all for Nibali to latch up with Pinot.
Well, that guy has a great name, King Leopold, Leopold King, any which way round you want to say it, and he has gone on the attack. Well, it looks to me as if Chris Horner there in the pink shirt there has dropped back to help the world champion, his teammate. Now there's a little move coming from Team Saxo Bank. That looks, well, it's hard to see from this angle, but I would have expected to be Michael Rogers, but it may well be his teammate. It's his teammate Maschke, the 2 riders who are up there from Tinkoff Saxo.
Well, that is the rider there. This, it looks like it was Nicholas Roach just going through there. Not too sure. Don't think it was. As we were seeing, as Maschke going through from Tinkoff Saxo. Now Belkin are sharpening their teeth here, and an attack coming on the left.
Laurens Tendam, he's going to take the pressure off his teammate. Now we can start to see the action really coming. Who a 2-man lead group. Leopold Koenig on the front. Translate that into English, it's King Leopold, and a kingly move here. Maschke is the rider in 2nd position in the fluorescent yellow jersey of Tinkoff Saxo Bank. Now, a bit of calm comes to the yellow jersey group. Those 2 riders not too dangerous in the overall standings. That's Mick Rogers over to the left-hand side, again in the fluorescent yellow, just been paced onto the back of the group. The world champion there has been aided by his teammate Chris Horner. While the drama here is the time that's going to be lost by Richie Porte at the end of the day. It's already 40 seconds that he's lost, and he will plummet down the overall standings. The only advantage he's got, Phil, is to have a teammate with him, the Spanish rider Mikel Nieve, who is pacing him and nursing him up this climb.
This is a group. On the right is Alejandro Valverde in the blue. Jurgen van den Broek is here. Far right, the yellow jersey, and also TJ Van Garderen on the far right as well. Bauke Mollema in the centre. This is now very much the cream of the Tour, and what a select group. And look at this at the back. The world champion has got back on.
So too has number 151. That, of course, was a Pierre Rolland in difficulty with the accelerations. Now that they've calmed down a fraction, he's managed to recover. Valverde's going.
Valverde has made his move. He sensed it. He's gone at 10.5 kilometres to go. Now that should cause a reaction from the field, because Alessandro Valverde overnight was in 3rd place. He knows now with Porte dropping in 2nd tonight and inching closer. Nibali can't allow this one to go.
Well, the way he attacked, they were all looking across at each other saying, oh, what are we going to do with a move like that? They have to respond. Vincenzo Nibali, Phil, in the yellow jersey, has got to do it. He's across the gap. So too is Thibaut Pinot in the dark blue jersey. He's struggling to close down that last few meters out of the saddle, back into the saddle. He's looking to get into the slipstream and close down that gap. Let's not forget, though, we've still got 2 leaders. Maschke in 2nd position there, Leopold Koenig in 1st position. But this is the action. He's looking for a bottle here. Excuse me, let me take the bottle from my team helper. They've got to keep hydrated on this very, very hot day. The temperature creeping up to 90 degrees this afternoon. But, you know, when you're the leader of the race, you have to respond to a move by Alejandro Valverde. And that's exactly what Vincenzo Nibali has done in second place there. Looking at Maschke there, Phil, in second position, and he in fact finished 6th overall in the Giro d'Italia this year, as well as being the best young rider in the Criterium International. This is the second group on the road. Alejandro Valverde has said before the start of this Tour de France that he really has the form. And look at the way he's riding like a dominant rider. Laurens ten Dam is the next man just to get onto the back end of the yellow jersey group.
Meanwhile, who is left to chase here? Frank Schleck, champion of Luxembourg. And also Backerman. Here comes an attack by Bardet. We expected this. The best placed Frenchman now is trying to get up to that group.
Well, Bardet has seen the move coming from Jürgen van der Broek, and I think he's going to use that move to act as a leapfrog, and he just accelerates. Just behind him is his teammate Jean-Christophe Perrault, and in the red and black jersey 141 is TJ Van Garderen. AG2R Le Mondial are the leaders in the team classification at the start. Van Garderen's going to go over the top of that now.
Well, this could be a good move, because Van Garderen has always said, let's see how it goes in the Alps. He needs a little bit of time here. He sits in the top 6 riders overall, but he's got to get time. He can't afford to lose any more time to the riders who are now ahead of him overall. This is the chase group, remember. Pinot flicking his arm, saying, come and give me a hand up here. We've got France, Spain, and we've also got Holland and Italy. What an international chase.
Well, in this white jersey, on the front again is France, but this is in the third group on the road. TJ Van Garderen diving across the road there, Phil, looking to see whether or not he can put time between himself and everybody else. Everybody is gasping and diving to try and get bottles of water from the side of the road. It's been such a hot day. Thibaut Pinot, though, is doing a great job, and if they don't chase him down, he could be climbing up into a third place overall by tonight, because the big loser on the day is the Australian Richie Porte. Back to the two leaders, Maschke in the yellow of Tinkoff Saxo Bank. Leopold Koning is the rider in first position. And this is the second group on the road. The yellow jersey, Vincenzo Nibali. No teammates left to look after him, but everybody here is pretty much isolated. Thibaut Pinot in the dark blue of FDJ. He's riding into maturity here this afternoon. Man we saw finishing 10th place in the Tour de France in his first participation is now climbing up the overall standings at the end of today. He's just 24 years of age, the future of French cycling. And the French have said, the young French riders have said, that the Pinots and the Bardets have said that they feed off each other's success, and we may well see a bounce back by Bardet because of this great ride by Pinot.
And another terrific attack here by the white jersey. Bardet really has stretched them this time.
He really is on the defensive, because they are around about a minute behind the yellow jersey group, and that minute could see him dropping down into second place Frenchman and quite possibly losing his lead.
Attack by yellow. Whoa. Yellow's gone, and now they're going to have to react, and Pinot has reacted. So too with great ease, it appears to me, has Valverde. Grits his teeth a little bit. This is a huge move by the man who's showing us every day he is the strongest rider in the Tour. Vincenzo Nibali putting in a huge attack. But look at that, Paul. He has just crossed 17 seconds in about 45 seconds.
Well, a blink of an eye, I suppose you could say. On the front, Leopold Koning, second place, Raphael Maschke. Now there are 3 leaders at the front of this race, but there are big time gaps happening further down the road. The man who started the race as the best young rider, he's free to fly. He's left TJ Van Garderen and the rest of his group behind. Romain Bardet is one of the next few stars for France. These two French riders, Phil, they're only 24 years of age each. They really are stars of the future, and they've got no respect to the big reputations. They want to race, and they're going to have a great weekend of French cycling.
There's never been a Tour de France quite like this one for a long, long time. So many riders now believe they can win this Tour. Pinot saying, look, don't just sit there, come and help me chase the one up front. And Valverde, I think, said, I can't. Now Bardet and TJ are together, and Perrault is coming up as well. So this group, I think, is going to come back. There are 5 kilometers to go now. This is the race for the win on the day. And, you know, if Nibali were to win, not only would he increase his lead, but he'd also take the lead in the King of the Mountains. 5 kilometres to go. 3 leaders have gone through. Majka, Nibali, Koenig. This is a reaction. Valverde, who moments ago told Thibaut Pinot he couldn't do it, has jumped him.
Well, I think he saw the back end of the motorbike there and saw it as an opportunity there to try and open up a little bit of a gap with the slipstream, but he could not pop Pinot there, and it's these two riders back together.
This is the next group now at 5 kilometres. The top young Frenchman in white there, that jersey endangered by the man in blue ahead of him on the road.
Richie Porte, Phil.
5:22 now.
That's huge. That is a huge gap behind for Richie Porte. He's really going to tumble down the overall standings this afternoon. And Romain Bardet again is trying to get away on his own.
This young man that people firmly believe can win the Tour de France, but he may be just a little bit too young yet at 24. As we look at here, the counter moves, they regroup again. All the riders with 1 on the numbers, they're the team leaders. That's why they get the privilege of wearing number 1. And this is 1:41 right now. TJ Van Garderen. The spread is 16 seconds, and they're still trying to get away from that group. These are the 3 leaders. 16 seconds only ahead of Valverde. 64 seconds ahead of the Bardet group. And 5 minutes 37 seconds ahead of Richie Porte. Team Sky, the winners of the Tour de France for the past 2 years, I think today are losing it. To go, as this is Thibaut Pinot still trying to get rid of Alejandro Valverde, who won't help him in the chase but keeps attacking him. Has come back into the second slipstream, but the cars in front, that is the group of Majka, Nibali and Koenig. The gap is only a few seconds. And now the yellow jersey, the leader of the Tour. He took the lead for the first time in Sheffield on day 2. He lost it for 1 day, grabbed it back. TJ Van Garderen trying to stay in this race now with the young rider of Romain Bardet.
Well, he's getting into a rhythm here. You can see it looks like character to the side of the road there as he waves his flags nice and high. But TJ Van Garderen, I think the Alps and the inclines of the Alps suit the American rider. The inclines we're looking at here are about 6 and 7% the gradient, but he is working extremely well now. Frank Schleck is having a good day there because he is with Jean-Christophe Perrault, number 81.
Is this the rebirth or renaissance of Frank Schleck, who's now the champion of Luxembourg? His brother Andy out with a crash early in the opening week of the Tour. Here goes the yellow jersey. The rhythm is incessant, and the 2 youngsters can't keep up with him here. This is a solitary ride on the first day in the Alps. Nibali is going to the top, and he's going to win his 3rd stage.
This is not an attack. This is just power. This is just riding the other 2 riders off your back wheel in a situation like this. So those are the 3 leaders. We're now back with 4th and 5th place on the road. Alejandro Valverde is 26 seconds behind the leader. He's got with him the young Frenchman, Thibaut Pinot, just 24 years of age. A little bit further back, it's TJ Van Garderen and the youngster who leads the best young rider competition at the start of the day, and that may well change, Romain Bardet.
Back up to the leader, the tête de la course, the head of the race, and Nibali is throwing it all down to these riders. We've watched the wall of attrition on the climb. He's watched the wall of attrition, and he's determined now to finish it all off.
He just wants to get as much safety as he can because he knows any day you can have a bad day. Technically he knows, and tactically he knows that anything can happen on the long roads leading away from the Alps right the way down to the Pyrenees. So at any opportunity he too wants to try and stretch his advantage over everybody else. Currently he's pulling 34 seconds away from Alejandro Valverde, who I would think he's rather concerned about.
This is Frank Schleck, champion of Luxembourg. Jean-Christophe Perrault, the really aging but terrific French cyclist. He's 36, I believe, just now. This is the leader. The British flag's waving as Nibali goes forward.
Yes, well, he will add, if he stays away here, this will become his 3rd victory after his victory to the summit of the Planche des Belles Filles, because he was extremely dominant there. He won the stage into Sheffield, so this man is really looking to open up the account in the Tour de France this year and open up the time gaps as well. 6:09 though, Phil, back to Richie Porte. Richie Porte is having a terrible day. He must be very happy to have a teammate up alongside him, because that 6:09 could be much, much bigger than that.
Well, if you're a dominant leader of the Tour, we've seen plenty of them in years gone by, They pick the big stages and they show they're the best by winning those stages. And with the climb in Sheffield and La Planche, it's going to be now his win here on chamrousse. He's got 2.5 kilometers to survive.
Well, you know, sometimes you have to think it's tough being an Italian cyclist, Phil, because as an Italian cyclist, they always want you to ride the Giro d'Italia. It is their Grand Tour, but this man sacrifices his season on a number of occasions not to participate in the Giro d'Italia. He's won that race in the past, he's won the Vuelta a España, but he also knows how to not ride the Giro d'Italia and prepare for the Tour de France. The team criticised him in the early part of this year, saying he's got no form, he's not doing anything at all. But then all of a sudden, just as we started with the National Championships 1 week before the start of the Tour, this man came right out on top.
We're coming up to 2 kilometers to go. The race leader of the Tour de France is leading the riders up to the finishing line. 43 seconds behind, we've got Alejandro Valverde and Thibaut Pinot, the Frenchman. The second chase is 1 minute and 27 seconds. That's Laurens ten Dam, Romain Bardet, and the American TJ Van Garderen. There's an 11-rider bunch at 1 minute and 48, and then there's a couple of riders rolling at 6 minutes, and those two riders are Richie Porte and Nieve, his teammate.
Well, Pinot on the front there in the dark blue jersey. He's riding into a spot of maturity here this afternoon, Phil. This is his 3rd participation in the Tour de France at just 24 years of age. I think he's a great star of the future, and it's so good after such a long time of the French not having much chance to rival the top end of the leaderboard, to have all these youngsters coming up. And I tell you, one man who is very proud of the French performances is, of course, Bernard Hinault, the last man to win the Tour de France. He won it on 5 occasions.
Under the 2 kilometer banner for Thibaut Pinot in the blue and Alejandro Valverde in the best. It's time to remember that the last time that Vincenzo Nibali rode in the Tour de France was 2012. He finished 3rd behind the 2 British riders from Sky, Sir Bradley Wiggins and Chris Froome. Wiggins not selected by his team this time around, and Chris Froome out on day 5. Logical result then,
I suppose. Logical, but the way he's done it is with panache so far. He came out, I mean, Phil, a leader, a man who's trying to win the Tour de France doesn't come out on stage 2 and try and grab the stranglehold of a race, but that's exactly what Vincenzo Nibali did when he won the stage down into Sheffield. A brave move which paid off.
This is TJ Van Garderen with the youngster from France, fighting to keep that white jersey, because the rider in front of him, the blue jersey of Thibaut Pinot, might be taking it off his shoulders tonight.
Well, the race situation currently, we look at the man in the yellow jersey extending his advantage over everybody else in this race. Leopold Koenig is just behind him. They're not too far. We just caught a quick glimpse of 2nd and 3rd place riders on the fold, Maschke and Koenig, but I don't think they're going to get themselves back to the yellow jersey this afternoon. A little bit further down the road is Frank Schleck and Jean-Christophe Perrault. This man, though, is, as they say in French, impérial.
Well, at the moment, Pinot is not going to get that white jersey away from the other Frenchman. They're 20 seconds apart on the road, and the other Frenchman's got a 41-second advantage. There he is. He's tongued out as he sits on the back of a man that won that white jersey once in the Tour de France, TJ Van Garderen. Laurens ten Dam has done a ride today. I thought he's beginning to crack a couple of days ago, but there he is with those 3. This man not telling us anything with his face as they come up. The 2 are at him, but we are 1 kilometer to go. And the Maillot Jaune of the Tour de France, who has won twice already, is going to increase his lead here. He's now looking for 900 meters. Can those 2 behind revive?
Well, they're coming very, very quickly. They're being led out there by the man in the dark blue jersey, Leopold Koenig. If you remember, he won a fantastic stage last year up to the summit of Mount Diablo in the Amgen Tour of California. He knows how to go very quickly over the final few hundred meters. So these 2 riders are looking at 4th and 5th place on the road. Thibaut Pinot, the youngster from France.
There's Zubeldia in the black jersey, done another good ride, the aging Spanish rider, while Frank Schleck has come to the back with 1:61. Under 1 kilometer to go now for the next small group of riders. Here they are, Valverde and Pinot. No one in sight up the front though. These 2 are racing now to finish on the places if they can.
53 seconds is their deficit on the yellow jersey of Vincenzo Nibali. They're in 4th and 5th on the road. This man is learning the trade at 24 years of age. This man knows all about it. He's 34 years of age. He's had a very successful year so far, but this man is cruising all over the Tour de France this afternoon.
600 metres to the top of the climb here on a beautiful sunny day in the Alps, and is reflecting that sunshine is the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. Vincenzo Nibali is not leaving very much the imagination anymore as he dances towards the finish. It's been a brilliant day out for Vincenzo Nibali. He increases his lead in the Tour de France tonight. Vincenzo Nibali conquers the Tour de France for a third time, and the yellow jersey is even safer on his shoulders now. Manchka comes over in second, Koenig in third. A great result for the NetApp Endura rider, and justifies the selection of that team as a wild card into the Tour de France. Thibaut Pinot, as he comes up to the line, they're all losing time, but Valverde should be okay for second overall tonight. He's going to attack Thibaut Pinot, having followed him up the mountain, and the Frenchman should have been ready for that move. He'll even lose a second.
Well, just waiting for the clock to stop, but you know, Alejandro Valverde is a great finisher up at the top of this climb. He's got himself to the top, and he's racing for seconds here this afternoon as he stops it on the line. That's 48 seconds. But the man who started the day in second place overall, Richie Porte, he is going to tumble down the standings. Valverde will be second tonight, and TJ Van Garderen will also climb up in the standings at the end of today's stage.
And will the white jersey stay on the shoulder of this plucky little young man here, Romain Bardet? He's got 10 seconds to get to that line. As Bardet comes up now, Pinot was trying to take best young rider. Good finish by TJ Van Garderen. In the backdrop is Laurens ten Dam. And he will just keep his white jersey, Paul, but I think we're talking 5 seconds.
Right, let's start with the result. Vincenzo Nibali with his second stage win of the Tour, 10 seconds ahead of Rafael Majka and 11 of Leopold Koenig. Alejandro Valverde was fourth, just ahead of Thibaut Pinot, and it was TJ Van Garderen, Romain Bardet and Laurens ten Dam. Richie Porte drifted far enough back in the end for Geraint Thomas to be able to pace him in. He lost 8 minutes 48 seconds, along with any real chance of finishing on the podium. Hard to tell where the main field ended and the autobus began today. There were groups at 32, 38 and 41 minutes down. The middle one was the largest and contained the green jersey of Peter Sagan as well as Simon Yates. Last man in was the Russian champion Alexander Porsov, with the broom wagon looming behind him. He finished over 3/4 of an hour behind the winner and was eliminated on time. The man who set the pace that eliminated Porsov had already been up and down the podium steps 3 times by then. For the stage win, as the new leader of the King of the Mountains and the yellow highlighted and heavily underlined leader of the race. Here's what the first day in the Alps has done to the standings. Nibali's lead is up to 3 minutes 37. Alejandro Valverde is up to second place with Romain Bardet third, but his lead over Thibaut Pinot in the Best Young Rider competition is cut to 16 seconds. TJ Van Garderen is now fifth at 5 minutes 19, while Jean-Christophe Perrault, Bauke Mollema and Jürgen van den Broek all simultaneously shuffle up the standings while losing time to the leader.
Vincenzo, do you feel like you have enough time already to take to Paris?
Oggi è una giornata molto bella, fantastica, un'altra vittoria e ci avviciniamo un po' fino alla fine, però mai dire mai, perché qui tutti i giorni è sempre una tappa sono tappe molto dure. Oggi è stata sicuramente una di quelle molto difficili, specialmente nel finale. Poi tutto è andato molto bene e sono molto contento, la squadra ha lavorato tantissimo.
Contento excepto Nibali, que está demostrando un poco ser ahora mismo el más fuerte de la carrera, pues yo creo que bien, hemos metido tiempo a todos los rivales que tengo detrás y ya segundo. Y bueno, queda un paso, pero el paso es bastante difícil.
Your Tour de France has been perfect so far. Have you had one bad day? Have you made one mistake yet?
Ma penso che fino adesso è andato tutto veramente molto bene per me, ho tutto ok. Ho detto ci sono tantissime altre giornate dure, quindi vediamo.
None of the big names lost more time than Richie Porte today. He cracked early on the final climb and slipped out of contention to 16th. But it'll clearly take more than that to change the default expression of a man congenitally predisposed to smile.
Richie, what went wrong?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I dealt with the heat real well. But it's one of those things. I think, it's a massive shame, but, we'll just see what happens tomorrow.
just under 9 minutes. It's not the worst kind of time loss that can happen in these things.
Yeah, it's not the best either, but it's a shame. I think I feel more for my teammates who have been brilliant for me every day, but if it happens to me, I think it can happen to other guys too, so just keep on pushing.
He makes no excuses for himself, Richie. He tells it like it is, but obviously there'll be disappointment for him and for the team. Stages, do you persist for a top 10, top 5?
Top 10, I'm not sure really. I think we'll take stock tonight and then see if we can get into a situation where we can animate the race. I don't think there's no point coming in and just riding round. So I think we'll take stock and see what we can do. And I think got to take the blows, haven't you? There's no excuses. It's not easy. It's disappointing. But I think you've got to stay positive and think about the coming days and the mountains and what opportunities we've got to do other things in the race.